I just wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be sharing an exciting milestone for the West Seattle Bridge program. Just a reminder to the media that's out there to please indicate your name and the affiliation, the station that you are with, or the outlet. We will get started in just a minute or two. We have some of our panelists continuing to join us. Once we get through our remarks, we would ask that you raise your hand and we will call you in order of your hand going up. And if you're having some technical difficulties, feel free to use the Q&A and we'll be able to read the question out then and get your question responded to. And then also a reminder that you can get some construction film and photos at the bridge at 1 o'clock. There were some instructions included with the media alert that was sent out earlier. So we hope to see you there. And we'll just hold on for about 1 more minute and then we'll get started.
Don, there's a Tracy Record says that the YouTube hasn't started yet. Is that?
Thank you for letting us know, Tracy. Yes, that is important. Let's see. It is only showing Dawn, not Brady Bunch style. That's what I hear right now. Just started. Thanks. Okay, great. Looks like it's coming on. So with that, then, why don't we go ahead and I will just once more reiterate, since we're on YouTube, that we're here for a press conference on the West Seattle Bridge program. We're going to share some exciting news with you, and we'll start with Sam Zimbabwe kicking it off.
Good morning, everybody. This is Sam Zimbabwe. I'm the director of the Seattle Department of Transportation. I just want to start off first by welcoming a number of folks who have been with us throughout the whole of this process. Some really critical partners that you will see spotlighted on your screen, but don't necessarily have a speaking role this morning. We recognize that this project affects so many people throughout our region and is so critical to have partners with us every step of the way. So just a few of the folks that are with us this morning in this virtual setting: Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold, Port of Seattle Commission President and Northwest Seaport Alliance co-chair Fred Felleman, King County Council member Joe McDermott, our co-chairs of our community task force, Paulina Lopez and Mayor Greg Nichols, Katie Garrow, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the MLK Labor Council, Monty Anderson, Executive Secretary of the Seattle Building and Construction Trades, and Shannon Braddock, Deputy Chief of Staff of the King County Executive's Office. It's so critical for us to have so many folks partnering with us every step of the way. And you've really been critical with us in seeing us to this important milestone. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Durkin for our number one ally in this whole process, who's been with us every step of the way as we've worked through this process. For some remarks, I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more, and then we'll get into questions and answers. So Mayor Durkin, please take it away.
Thank you, Sam, and I really want to join you and echo your thanks to all the people that are on this call who have really helped us get through this period of time, but also to all the residents and businesses of West Seattle that we know that this has really created a huge burden for, and also South Park, Delridge. Those neighborhoods have really been changed so much by the loss of West Seattle Bridge. Some really exciting good news today, and I think we need it. These have been really, really challenging 22 months for the city of Seattle. We were the first to get in our region the COVID-19. We now hear things about Omicron, and we wonder when we're ever going to get out of this pandemic. But through it all, I think people can be very proud that we in the city of Seattle have kept going and pushing forward on really critical infrastructure and other projects that our community needs for economic recovery, to come together again, to really connect communities. We were just recently able to cut the ribbon on Climate Pledge Arena, which we broke ground on, pushed forward. I have to thank all of the building trades who worked through the pandemic to make sure that we could get that arena open. It is a world-class arena. If folks have not been there yet, they need to go. The Kraken are fun to watch, and the arena itself is really a wonderful thing to anchor the next future of the Seattle Center. Our waterfront is taking shape as well. If people haven't been down there, I know it's rainy, but get there and imagine standing at that back porch at the market and being able to walk across a bridge to a new aquarium. It's going to be fabulous. And of course, here today, we're talking about the West Seattle Bridge. I have to thank the Seattle Department of Transportation, Sam Zimbabwe, and his whole team. From the moment they discovered that this bridge was in jeopardy to today, they have pushed through so many difficult challenges. They've worked with all of the people on this call, and they've also worked with our federal delegation and other partners. And really proud to announce that if you are crossing the West Seattle Bridge area, you will see people on top of the high rise again, because work crews are returning to the high rise. Most of the work has been going on inside the bridge, but we're very excited today that crews are returning so that we are closer than ever to reopening the bridge. We are on track to reopen that bridge mid-year next year. You know, today marks about 1 year since we made the decision and announced that we would repair rather than replace the bridge. And I'm very proud to say we are on time and on budget. We know it still seems too low for the communities that are being impacted on this, and slow, I mean, but we really are moving forward, and the crews at SDOT have been working on every front to work with community, to see what the impacts are for traffic, to mitigate against those impacts. We know it's still really hard. I was in West Seattle last week and the week before that, and have seen firsthand, you know, no matter what time of day you have, that there are impacts for these communities. This urgent need across the Duwamish for the residents of the whole Duwamish Valley and for the Port of Seattle is critical. It's not just a connection between communities. It's one of the most important economic bridges we have in our region and in the Western United States. It's one reason we've been very fortunate to get the full support of our senators and congressional delegation to help get money. Today, we've been able to secure $19 million in federal funding to help us in these efforts, and $9 million from the Port of Seattle. I also want to thank Lisa Herbold, who's here, and the other members of the council who couldn't join, because City Council has been working with us shoulder to shoulder to make sure that we get this vital infrastructure fixed. We know how much impact this has on businesses, on families, on essential workers, and we're continually trying to modulate and mitigate against what the next challenge is, at the same time recognizing what an important economic driver and job driver the Port of Seattle is. I want to thank all those workers at the port who have remained very flexible throughout this so they could get to work to unload all those ships and load those ships to keep our economy going. It's really been my priority as mayor to minimize the impacts and maximize the benefits for the Duwamish Valley. And I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish together. We could not have done it without the task force and advisory group, who every step of the way were reminding us of the real life ground truths for the people and businesses in the Duwamish Valley. I'm really excited that we're able to take this milestone today. Sam Zimbabwe will give you more information about this, but the final phase of repairs will be pretty similar to what's been completed during stabilization. There'll be epoxy injected, wrapping the parts, installing more tight cables, that type of work that has been done. But we know that replacing and repairing this bridge is going to return us a bridge that will last into the future and get us there as quickly as we can and as smartly as we can. So again, I want to thank everybody for the work they've been doing. Sam will describe in more detail and be able to answer questions on the exact work that's being done. But this is really an extensive period of work. By the time we're done, we will have added more than 91 tons of steel cable, which is over 46 miles long if you were to stretch it end to end. We'll have had 2 football fields of carbon fiber polymer to reinforce the bridge, and 10,000 square feet of a temporary work platform that we can hang next to the bridge in order to do the work safely. That's just some of the challenges we faced, but Sam and his team have really been looking at, with our contractors and our engineers, how do we make sure that this bridge is as close to new and last for the future as possible? There's always uncertainties, but again, I want to really thank the people that are on this call. I want to thank the businesses and residents of all of the area, South Park, West Seattle, Delridge, the whole Duwamish Valley. Really want to thank our partners at the Port of Seattle, who also have contributed financially to this. knowing that we work together as a partnership is how we do the best things here in the region. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sam Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm thrilled that we're here at this point as we make the announcement that crews are back on the bridge and that we are on track to complete these repairs by mid-2022. The project has been the top priority for us at SDOT. Our teams have been working tirelessly to complete the design and begin repairs as safely and as quickly as possible. We followed a very aggressive schedule to expedite bridge repair and restore traffic for everybody that relies on it, including developing this general contractor construction manager contract and bringing the contractor on earlier than usual. As Mayor Durkin said, the final phase of repairs will be very similar to the work that crews completed during stabilization, but on different parts of the bridge. We'll be installing steel cables throughout the bridge called post-tensioning strands. These reinforce the concrete, much like the bridge's skeleton. We're wrapping the structure with carbon fiber reinforced polymer for durability and to strengthen the bridge, similar to the way you put a cast on a broken bone that will really last for years. And then we're injecting epoxy into the cracks to seal them and prevent corrosion for the long-term performance of the bridge overall. While we have the contractors on the bridge and to make smart use of them, crews will be also performing major maintenance along the West Seattle Bridge corridor. That includes replacing joints that allow the structures to expand and contract during hot and cold weather safely. The paving to give people a smooth and predictable surface that will last for years, and replacing the signs and the sign structures that hold them with signs that are easier for people driving to see, read, and able to withstand winds and high storms. We're also making investments in the low bridge, making sure that it stays in safe and usable condition. That includes additional carbon fiber wrap and epoxy injection in the low bridge as well. We've sequenced work so that the work on the low bridge, that major maintenance, won't create construction delays or impact traffic once we've opened the bridge. We're really getting all that work done during the time that we still have the high bridge not usable. As Mayor Durkin said, the scale of this repair is still extensive. We have more than 91 tons of steel cable, 46 miles long when stretched end to end, that will go into the bridge. 2 football fields of carbon fiber reinforced polymer, and those work platforms, similar to the ones we had up last year, 10,000 square feet of work platforms to hang along the bridge for workers to use as they perform this work from. As you heard from Mayor Durkin, a repair effort of this scale is only possible through the dedicated work of many. We're grateful for our funding partners, the dedicated staff, of course, the patience of the communities, businesses, residents, everyone that's been impacted by this closure over the last 18 months. So with that, I will open it up for questions and answers, and I'll work to moderate that as we go. And I see them already starting to come in as well. So
Sam,
yep.
I think we have a couple of questions here, and we're kind of tracking down the answer to one. So let's start with Sam didn't mention post-tension steel for the low bridge, just epoxy and carbon. Did SDOT determine that post-tension cable is unnecessary for the cracks in the swing bridge?
Yes, that is correct. So during the final design process, we did determine that we don't need to add additional post-tensioning cable in the low bridge, and that we can strengthen that bridge using the carbon fiber wrap, and that will limit any impacts to traffic using the bridge during that construction process for the low bridge as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're going to go to Graham Johnson, and then after that, Tracy Record, you'll be on deck.
Thank you so much, and good morning. As you know, Director Zimbabwe, during the recent City Council campaign, there was a suggestion that the bridge might be able to be open for limited traffic during this repair period. Have you given that idea serious and sufficient consideration?
Yeah, so we've recognized throughout this process that there's an ongoing impact to people in West Seattle. Everybody who is in West Seattle or needs to travel back and forth is being impacted by this. our number one priority throughout this whole process has been safety and making sure that we have a safe bridge now and into the future. So we did look at everything we could do. We really couldn't open the bridge back up to traffic. We now have crews back up on the bridge, and so it is now again an active construction site, and it is certainly not possible at this point. But even over the last few months, we couldn't open it up to traffic without risking serious damage and a longer closure period overall to traffic. So we did consider that very strongly, and we've we're now really excited that we're at this point of starting the final repairs that will bring traffic back on the bridge safely.
And then we'll go to Tracy Record, and then Chris Sullivan, you will be on deck.
Hi. This question was asked before, and the answer was always, well, we haven't signed the final agreement with the contractor, so we can't answer it until we do. Well, I assume you have now signed the final agreement with the contractor. So the question remains, what is the completion date that they have specified or that you have specified or whatever in this agreement? And are there incentives for finishing sooner?
Sure. Thanks, Tracy. So the date that is in the, when we work on contracts like this, we do have a shared date that we are working towards. The substantial completion date that we've projected with our contractor is the end of June of 2022, June 30th. That's the best estimate that we can provide at this point for when we will reach substantial completion and that they will turn the bridge back over to us. We've said before that we have several weeks of testing to make sure that the bridge is safe for use and that everything has been done. And so we're really still in that mid 2022. We're at the very start of this process, and there's a lot of unknowns. We are still grappling with the throes of a global pandemic. We know a lot about everything that we expect to have happen on the bridge, but don't have full certainty about how the construction will proceed. So we are very confident in mid 2022, and we will share those dates around reopening as we get closer. We do have that shared goal with the contractor of finishing repairs by the end of June of next year, but don't have, we can't say what that means in terms of a reopening date quite yet. In terms of your question about incentives or disincentives, we have a shared urgency with the contractor, Kramer North America, who we've had a great working relationship. They just recently completed the John Lewis Memorial Bridge for us up by the Northgate Mall, the Northgate Link extension. We were working on a shared urgent timeframe with that bridge project as well of when Sound Transit would open. We opened right at the same time as the link extension opened. We don't have incentive payments built into the contract, partly because of the challenges of how that works with federal contracting rules. But we have a shared urgency and really a shared incentives of getting the bridge open as quickly and as safely as possible.
Thank you, Tracy. Chris Sullivan, you will be next. And then after that, Mike Lindblom.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Sam, I ask this a lot. I keep asking Matt this, and can you put into perspective, I think, for people who don't understand bridge work or what this takes? Mayor Durkin said, hey, it's been a year since we made the decision on repair replace. It'll be 22 months almost from the closure. Of how fast this and aggressive you've actually been when people say, why is it taking so darn long?
Yeah, so this is a massive piece of infrastructure. As we mentioned, there are 46 miles of post-tensioning cable that will be added to the bridge in this phase alone. We've got to get that right. We want this repair to last for the rest of the useful life of this bridge, decades, so that we're not in this position again. That is, that takes some time to design and make sure we're doing the things that we will need to bring traffic safely back on the bridge and have it last still for a generation. It is a massive piece of infrastructure. As Mayor Durkin said, when we made that decision to repair rather than replace, it was partly because of the urgency of getting traffic back on as soon as possible, without also creating a safety challenge that would lead us towards being in the same position again. So we recognize it's taken some time to get to this point. We also did bring in the contractor early through this general contractor construction manager process, which enabled us to work collaboratively on the the design and the constructability and make sure that we were able to bring traffic back on the bridge as soon as possible.
Can I add just something real quickly to that as well? I think, Chris, you're exactly right. And I joked with Sam and his team early on to see whether we couldn't put portholes in the bridge as they did all that work inside. Because I think not having that work out in view, it's why we've encouraged reporters. And it was really heartened to hear that there's the bridge tours. If you haven't been, please go get those pictures out. Because the work that has been done to date is really, it's not only so significant, it's amazing we've been able to get through and get pushed it done. I mean, if you think about it, 46 miles of just this tensioning strand, that is if you were on, think of a hose reel and you're taking your hose, you would stretch it past Tacoma, past Puyallup, all the way to DuPont. And this is when you've read over and over again about all the supply chain problems. That's one of the biggest uncertainties for next year. But the fact that we've been able to get to this point and source the materials to keep going itself has really been a Herculean feat. So I really want to again tribute Sam's leadership, his whole team at SDOT and the general contractor to keep pushing on this in some of the most difficult times to do projects like these.
Thank you, Mayor Durkin. Thank you, Chris. So next we'll go to Mike Lindblom, and then we're going to go to Alina Hunter-Graw. And if I pronounced your name incorrectly, please tell me how to say it when you get on.
Good morning. I have to pile on a little bit with Chris's question. If this was an emergency, why couldn't or didn't SDOT just keep Kramer on board after Mayor Durkin made the decision to repair in October of 2020 and gotten to the point we're at today several months earlier if Kramer had just been hired for the permanent repairs immediately?
Yeah, I don't know, Mike, that would have saved us time. When we when we made the decision to repair, we were still in the midst last year of stabilizing the bridge. We hadn't yet completed that first phase. And we immediately moved from the time when we were in that repair discussion, we were immediately able to start the design process. We, at the same time, in parallel, were pulling together all the funding needed, and we're starting that general contractor construction manager. It did happen that Kramer was the best qualified team to support us in the final repair, but we didn't lose time in that process because we were still doing the design and and assembling all the funding needed to get the project where we are today of starting this. Starting the physical work. Kramer's been on board with us for months, working through the design process collaboratively. And so we've been able to still take advantage of all of that as the design was being completed.
Right. But if they start on the final design months earlier, the worst risk you have is some unused engineering product. And SDOT has been perfectly willing to pay HNTB all year to produce engineering information that may never get used on the replacement 30 years from now. So in hindsight, was there would there have been some value in taking that chance and having Kramer accelerate even before you did all the readings last winter from the expansion joints and so forth?
Yeah, I want to push back that I don't think that there was a time impact to not having Kramer on board for a few months as we were starting that design process. They've been right with us from the preliminary stages of the repair design as the general contractor construction manager. There's also we're still assembling the federal funding that's needed for the bridge project, and there are some contracting rules that go along with federal funding that made, I think, the way that we've approached this the fastest and best way. But really, they've been with us all along. We haven't lost a step as we've been going through this final design process and in getting to this point of having crews back on the bridge.
Any sense how many months you lost waiting for the federal funding and their regulations to come together?
I don't think we lost any time in any of this. We've been making progress consistently throughout the whole process and lining up all the steps that need to be taken so that we're at this point as quickly as we could be.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And then it looks like, so now we have Alina Hunter-Graw, and then we'll do Natalie Bicknell. She'll be on deck.
Hi there. You pronounced my name perfectly. Thanks. I know you may not be able to speak in specifics, but are there any sort of numbers for the trips of or commuter trips affected or financial impacts that may have come from having the bridge closed for this long?
Well, pre-pandemic, we were seeing about 100,000 trips a day, both cars and people on transit. So we definitely have been, traffic overall in the city has been lower, but that's a good rough number of the number of people and trips affected every day. In terms of financial impact, I wouldn't want to speculate on that, but we recognize that there's been time, impacts to people's lives and businesses that have been really challenging and been added additional stress on top of a time when everybody was dealing with so many other stressful things in their communities. So we recognize it's been a really big impact, and that's why we've been pushing forward so hard.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Natalie Bicknell, and then we'll return to Tracy Record.
Good morning, and thank you. I have a quick question, and this relates to a proposal that was put out by B&H Arguments for a repair option or replace option that would have utilized cross timber or cross laminated timber, and it was not accepted because it did not conform to the RFP's requirements. But I wanted to know if SDOT is exploring the use of this material in future bridge work.
Yeah, Natalie, I think what we've tried to do when we convened a technical advisory panel last year to help us through this repair replace discussion, and really we're able to hone in on sort of proven engineering methods that were able to withstand the test of time, and were able to give us the reliability we were looking at to repair the bridge and move on into the future. That's the same approach that we've taken that was grounded in the work that technical advisory panel gave us last summer and fall that really has informed the design here. I know that our bridge engineers are looking always at the best possible solutions for our challenges, and find the ways that can meet the needs that we've got out there. So I don't want to speak to like specific technologies right now for other future bridge projects, but our folks are very creative in looking at ways to maximize the efficiency and the longevity of our investments.
Thank you. And then we'll return to Tracy Record. And at this point, I don't see another hand up. That may change in a moment.
Okay, thanks. Tell us what the latest is on the thinking in terms of whether when the bridge reopens in the mid-2022, whether it's going to reopen at all lanes, one lane at a time, one lane for 2 weeks, then try another lane, then try another lane. What are people going to see? Probably.
Yeah, so our expectation, Tracy, is that we will be reopening to full traffic at the time that we reopen. And that's why we need that brief period of time after we reach substantial completion to do some load testing, to test without live traffic on it, but with the expectations of live traffic, sort of make sure that the bridge is performing as we expected. I want to reassure everybody too that the bridge, since we stabilized it, has been performing as expected too. We had record snow, we had record heat this summer. Everything that points to the stabilization working as expected, which also leads us to this really strong confidence that as we do these final repairs, that the bridge will continue to respond as we expect it to, and we should be able to reopen to traffic and should have fixed the problem that emerged. And so that we expect this long life of the bridge still after the repairs are completed.
And one other question, just in case no one else asked it, is What exactly is happening up there today? We can see on the traffic camera that there are crews doing work.
Sure. Well, we're starting out with the what's called hydroblasting of being able to reconnect those work platforms underneath the bridge. There's some additional on the tail span, some work there that needs to be done to prepare the bridge for those the work platforms to be reinstalled, and just doing all the mobilization that we need to start bringing equipment back up on the bridge and start having those crews back up there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And it looks like Mike Lindblom has his hand up one more time.
Yeah, hi, yeah, thanks for waving me in. Sam mentioned just now that when the bridge opens, it'll be completely open. This is different from the prediction Heather Marks made months ago with the task force, that there might be a gradual, soft kind of reopening some lanes at a time. Sam, can you explain what engineering insights or safety thinking came to bear on this, that you're going to do testing in a full reopening instead of just kind of a gradual rollout?
Yeah, I think, as we've refined those plans, and again, we're still a little bit away from when this reopening will happen, so things could still change, but the expectation is that the repairs will bring full traffic full structural capacity back to the bridge, and full strength and full ability to carry traffic, and that if we take this period to the period after substantial completion before we reopen to traffic to make sure that it responds as we expect, so that there isn't a need to bring traffic back gradually, that we can be confident in that as soon as we start.
Is this yeah, and that relates a lot to the Kenneth Wilson Council campaign and suggesting a 2-lane reopening and so forth during the repairs. Is SDOT's aversion to that, is that primarily a safety issue? I mean, you could certainly see how people drive in and around the West Seattle corridor and be pretty fearful about any kind of unusual lane reopenings.
Yeah, well, Mike, I want to be clear that the strengthening, the repair hasn't happened yet. So the 2 tail spans, we've stabilized the center span, and it's responded as we've expected. The 2 tail spans, the spans on either side, have not had any strengthening done yet, and so that's where we're going to be working. It's now going to be a very active construction zone. Even if folks can't see it, there's going to be a lot of work going on inside, underneath the bridge. Those tail spans need to be strengthened before we bring traffic back on the bridge. And so bringing traffic on now would potentially degrade the bridge again and set us back. I don't even want to speculate about how long it might set us back, but it would set us back in terms of design and construction and things like that. So I really want to stress that now it's not about safety of the workers, it's about the integrity of the bridge and the structural capacity of the bridge going forward. So that's why we're not bringing traffic back on in 1 lane. Once we're done, once everything is strengthened, all 3 spans, then we have every expectation that it will be strong for decades to come.
Let's see. Monty Anderson, important to remember that Seattle building trade members working every day on the bridge. They are professionals, which means they are working hard and safe. The idea of incentives to hurry up work is not something we encourage. SDOT is getting it right. Okay, and then it looks like, so we had a question from the beginning and a question at the, oops, sorry, let me hold on. Sorry, can you please repeat how many days between end of repairs and full reopen?
So it shouldn't be very long, and I don't want to give a specific number of days quite yet of when that will be. As we get closer to the end of repairs, we will be able to give a much more certain date of reopening. It'll take us a little bit of time. We're expecting no more than 2 weeks. To be able to load test it, make sure that all of the structural work and the bridge is responding as expected.
Great. We have two questions here, one from Alina Hunter and one from Graham Johnson. So Alina, if you'd like to go first.
Sure. Is there any understanding of how long the bridge should be good for once these repairs are finished?
Yeah, so the remaining useful life of the bridge, when the bridge was designed, it was expected to have a useful life of about 70 years. So we expect that this will solve the problem that emerged, and that the bridge will still have its remaining useful life left, which puts us still about 40 years out from where we are today.
All right, great, thank you.
Great. And Graham Johnson.
Thanks much. Quick question, Director Zimbabwe. The mayor mentioned the supply chain matter, and I just wanted to see if you could elaborate a bit on that from what you've heard from your contractors about how much of a risk we have there in the next 6 months or so, if there are particular items that they are worried about being able to procure.
At this point, we don't, based on what we know. This was one of the benefits of bringing the contractor on early through the GCCM process. So as we've gone through the final iterations of design, we've been able to look at the constructability and make sure that we were identifying any of those challenges early on. The last 18 months have shown that it's really hard to make some projections into the future in all sorts of aspects of work that we do. But right at this point, we're very confident that we won't see major supply chain issues impacting the work. But we have been monitoring that as one of the risks as we go forward, and making sure that we're working with our contractors through the final design process to address that.
Sam, could you clarify, when we talk about 46 miles of steel, is that the final amount as of June 2022 that includes both stabilization and repair?
I believe that's just the piece, just what will be done in the this stage of repair. So that doesn't include the stabilization as well. I think that's still the upcoming, the work that's upcoming.
Okay. Yes, Sam, that's correct. I just heard that. Okay, well, it looks like we have come to the end of questions. But we did have a couple. I don't know if you saw this, Sam. It looks like we have some issues out on the lower bridge. So we are, to clarify, we are, of course, experiencing a little bit of a malfunction out there. It would happen while we were talking. And it is making it close to the traffic, including people walking and biking at this time. And we're working with our contractor to determine what the estimated length of repairs will be, and hope to have an update for you all soon.
Yeah, and I think actually that I think it's actually open right now for barge going through, but there were some issues this morning. The low bridge remains a very sensitive structure, a unique structure, and we work to preserve it and make sure that it's operating for both marine and land traffic as well. So there was a brief outage today. We are doing some limited openings for marine traffic as well. So recognize that it's still an issue that we will have to address throughout the construction process, just because of the critical nature of that low bridge for access still.
Okay, with that, I think that we have gone through all the questions. I appreciate everyone's time and all of the great questions that we did get to hear. And I hope that you and the media will be showing up to take some photos and get some film at the bridge deck at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thanks all.
Thank you.